Okay, it's a video for 5 bangers. This is for bass heads. Please watch this video. If you're one of these sets, you got to be a subscriber. You got to comment below, like to help the algorithm. One of these 5 sets is going to be given away to hopefully a legit bass head because all of these qualify. So comment, like, and subscribe. Before we continue, everybody sees Tupac every video. It's hanging right on my wall. Everybody knows that I love bass. You can see my library all the time. I'm listening to Menace to Society right now. That is my plate booming. It's a vanity plate. It's got to be 6 characters. I wanted thumping, but it couldn't make it work. And I lost this during COVID because I couldn't get back from Japan to Hawaii. So someone else has this plate now. Hopefully someday I can get it back. Let's go ahead and put up the border. Top left, you need any phone. It could be an Android, it could be an iPhone. You compare it with something from, I would suggest iFi. Something like the Griffin or the Gryphon. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. It's got a good bass boost, but you'd put more because the next thing you need, I would recommend, is a PEQ. Let me go ahead and switch this. I want to do packing a gun. Here we go. I really think you need a PEQ. You need to be able to adjust stuff at specific points for your taste, 55 hertz, 35 hertz, stuff like that, and be able to make a wider or smaller band. I don't think that the 10-band EQ type apps are good enough. Absolutely not. You need surgical precision. You need a PEQ. So your phone, whatever you got, an iFi or something like that, it's got some power and an app with a PEQ. And I would suggest Neutron personally. Now, I'm going to talk about the 5 up till number 1. Number 5 is the Sony EX800 ST, also known as the ST7550. I think I got that right. Maybe I got it wrong. There's 2 different numbering systems. One is for Japan and one is for outside of Japan. They are the identical same set. Quick story. Played with the FiO E12 6 years ago and ran it with full volume, high gain, with a 15 dB bass boost at 55 hertz, and let it go till the E12 died, which took like 4.5 hours. And I was trying to scorch the coils, which is how you burn out a driver, the very thin laminate around the voice coil wires, those little teeny wires. There's a tiny coating around those. When that gets too hot, that coil, it just instantly sounds like somebody saying shh, and a little puff of smoke. Or if it's a big driver, a larger puff of smoke. I was trying to do that to the EX800 and I couldn't. It's an absolute savage. You don't ever have to worry about burning it out. You can't, unless you're nuts and you got just some insane amount of power. But why would you do that? Number 4 would be the 7 hertz legato. This is probably going to surprise a lot of people because when I did my video, I was just listening to it like all other. I didn't really get that its point was to be like a home speaker system with a subwoofer, or like a 2.1 kind of. And then later on, after my review came out, I started to listen to it and I started to do like play with Neutron, and it legit can really hammer. It would vibe your ear if it weren't for the metal shell that it's in, but it will hit really hard. It'll pound your eardrum. It's got another driver dedicated to the treble, so you don't have to push that up to get the bass up. So that, I would say an EQ and an amp would be necessary, though a graph might imply that it's not. For me, I would EQ it a little bit, and I also would amp it to get it to the level that it can, because it can go higher, like the one before at the EX800 ST. Number 3, I would say, is the Arsonics ASG 2.5 or the 2.0, just a turn. You can see that red line right there. That's real. That's what it sounds like. It's the only one on this list that sounds like there's a blow dryer in my ear blowing on my eardrum without pain. It's a very, when this company was sold to Fender, it was a sad moment for all bass heads because there could have been so much potential from Arsonics. I was sad. Dale something is the guy that used to own that company. Number 2 would be the Fat Frequency Maestro SE. That would be number 2. That hammers really hard. It's got 11 or 12 drivers. It's a tribrid. It's got amazing treble. It's got amazing mids. It's a really, really excellent set. It's only slightly passed by the Grand Maestro because of the multiple tuning configurations, but the SE has a little bit more bass, though the Grand Maestro is supposed to get a module that matches the SE, if not more. So I'll update if that turns out to be the case. Number 1 would be the Mini, which might surprise people. Here's the reason it's the Mini. The Mini fits in deeper, and it's got That deeper fit, because it's a small shell, makes it so that the part of your ear that feels the tactile vibration coming through the shell is greater. So you get a greater sensation. The bass might be about the same as the SE in its actual measured, like in dBs, and its volume. But the ability to feel it, the tactile sensation, not including CIMs, because I don't have a CIM of any fat frequencies, but the SE versus the Mini, just the bass vibe, that would be the Maestro Mini to me. So number one would be the Mini, number two would be the SE, both from Fat Frequency. What an amazing company they are. The third would be ASG 2.5, which you maybe cannot find anywhere. Some people have bought it and then sold it because they don't look at that graph carefully. And also you can turn that down. And the 7 Hertz legato, this should probably surprise a lot of people. You'll notice there's nothing new on this list. This isn't a top 5 hyping this new thing, which I used to do a lot with my channel, and that's why top 5s exist a lot, to slide in the newest thing. There's nothing new on here. And the Sony 800 or the 7550, they're either the same. The last two, 4 and 5, both need EQ and amp. Now, down to overall tuning. The lowest would be the ASG. It's fun, but it's number 5. The next one after that would be the Mini. I think that the Mini sounds great, but the BA in the nozzle is something that I've never really, I can pick it up. I'm sensitive to it, so I put it there. I put the legato next because it's got another dynamic driver taking care of the treble as opposed to BA, and I can EQ one of them, the bass driver, and not really interfere with the treble, so I put that there. Next would be the Sony. I don't have the graph for the Sony. It doesn't look great on a graph. I haven't measured it with the bass boost, but the quality of the driver is just excellent. The timbre, I love Sony drive, especially the ones that were coming out around that period. They released a lot of good stuff. The EX1000 was the name of that. I still have it. It's all customized. Doesn't look great on a graph. It's got some peaks on it, but just, man, they were doing great back then. And then the number one would be the SE by Fat Frequency Maestro. That's a legit top-of-the-line audiophile set that happens to have an enormous amount of bass in the low end. That's my Basshead list. I don't think anything surprising except, again, probably the 7 Hertz legato. That's it. Comment below to get one of these sets. That's one of the ASGs right there. And today's video reminded me that I've got to get back and get my vanity plate, or come up with something else. Suggestions below welcome. It's 6 characters, and it's got to imply force and bass head and make everybody know. When they hear that noise and they're not sure where it's coming from, because bass is omnidirectional, you can pick up high and mid frequencies and where it's coming from, your front, left. Bass, it's supposed to, and it often sounds like it's coming from all around. So when people hear my car, they start looking out their windows, like behind them, in front of them, to their left, to the right, because they're not sure where I am. I love that, man. Disturbing the Peace, that was the name of our group. Growing up. I don't know. It's not so good sometimes. And I'm out.